independence.
But even after the independence of Africa as a whole, Kwame Nkrumah still wrote and urged on very many platforms and various platforms that saying, though we have gained independence, the whites have maintained that system of balkanization, dividing us. They are using the divide and rule policy to fortify their own interests in Africa. So Nkrumah still advocates for the African unity, and here in Uganda and in East Africa we have been advocating for the East African integration. And the people, great leaders such as Kanu Mama Gaddafi, was also on the same cause of African unity. Do you believe that if we came and had a consolidated force of African unity, we would maybe achieve better and get from one place to another?
See, I like the pace that we are taking already. The fact that the East African community has tried to unionize amidst all the challenges. The football, the AFCON that is coming to happen, not in Uganda, not in Tanzania, but in one country called East Africa. This kind of federation is a small step to the bigger stride that will be made to unite the whole of entire Africa. Imagine AFCON is happening in the whole of Africa. AFCON happens, the World Cup happens in Russia. The World Cup happens in countries bigger than the whole of Africa, but we've here decided to divide ourselves, give all this development to one nation, Egypt or wherever the AFCON can be. And it's the first time, which is a very good gesture, and I thank the heads of state for them to host such a big game as 3 countries, which is actually one country in the east of Africa that is, as I said earlier, the first stride to uniting the rest of Africa. You asked me something and I want to go back to it a little before we divert. There is not any independence for Africa if there is no independence for Africa. There is no independence for one country. We should be here celebrate, and I wrote and I said, and I'll be writing about it next week, that one day we shall celebrate a new independence. There'll be an Independence Day for the rest of Africa. There will be one date where we all celebrate the independence. And these fake days of the 60s, fake days of the 62, 63, 64, and 65 shall be all erased from our history, because there was not an independence offered that day. And you know the foundation of Pan-Africanism, according to Marcus, it's an economy.
It's economic sovereignty, economic independence.
Yes, there is no way a white man told us to get our own president, but not our own farm managers, not our own mine managers, not our own processing industry.
Actually, when they were leaving, I said, let us give them political independence, but let us control their economy, let us control their reserves, bank reserves.
Exactly, and if they achieved at that, they had not offered independence.
And when you read,
they had left us very captive, because even if we had a lot of mineral resources, which they knew about, and I tell you today that the mission of the scramble was for minerals. The white man would not give up until he had achieved that. Even by giving us independence, he knew that minerals and other resources would still come from Africa, and we've seen that until lately.
When President John Pombe Magufuli, for him, actually channeled money for independence and injected and invested that money in other activities, make sure that he develops the country.
Well, what I see there is the true act of Pan-Africanism. Kwame would have done the same. He's toppled in Ghana simply because he had diverted a lot of country resources to building Africa, to building the rest of Africa. So an act of selflessness as that was seen so bad by kind of General Kotoka, whatever that name is. That act of selflessness is seen as bad according to selfish Africans. But we see that even if we got all resources spent on stupid independence days around African countries and invested in our economy, we're good to go. We're improving projects here. States fail. We've seen most of the French colonized countries still aligned with the way. I've seen, you may say it with me, that we've seen more French colonies still in neo-colonialism more than the British colonies. Colonies have been, and I attribute this.
Actually, France did not sign an ultimate agreement to really give a full independence
to those countries. And we've seen this over the years. Which is why leaders that still alive with the West to that extent, to the extent of not processing even peanuts. Peanut butter could be made by a machine as small. But we are exporting peanuts for those presidents that could not conform to a new Africa, Africa that is being founded on Pan-Africanism, a new Africa that wants to share a currency, a borderless Africa. I was trying to listen to one of my best speakers, PLO, and he was talking about the artificial boundaries that have been set in Africa, artificial, as I may say, because we have people in Uganda that come from Kenya, and you can't trace that until you do a DNA test. They come from Nakuru, and so we have borders here that are defining us lately. A definition which we are not,
and that is the weapon that the white man uses
to activists to say that we move forward.
Very nationalistic conversation. Thank you so much, Comrade Mutenga. This is the Mark Interface. Abdias Musimi is my name. Bye.